Delighted to say that I'm joined here in studio by the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. A very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. A pleasure to be here, as always.
We were talking with the Chancellor a little bit earlier and very clearly recommitted to manifesto pledges on which taxes not to increase and also on her fiscal rules. Is that sensible in your eyes coming into this budget, or should there be more flexibility shown and would it be better to revisit some of those manifesto pledges?
Well, this Labour government has already, in my view, broken the promises they made during the election by putting through, in the last budget, the biggest tax rises in a generation, despite having promised the British public during the election they had no plans to increase taxes. That turns out to be a complete lie. What they should be doing is getting control of public expenditure, particularly welfare payments. We are paying 9.4 million people who are working age to be economically inactive. The working age welfare bill, so welfare payments paid to people of working age, not pensioners, people of working age, is £140 billion a year. And that is forecast to balloon even further in the years ahead. And that is why, because Labour can't control that, they had a little try a few months ago, but Keir Starmer is so weak, he couldn't even get his own backbenchers on board, even though he's got a massive majority in Parliament. And because Labour can't control that welfare bill, we are almost certainly going to see tax increases this autumn, which is going to put pressure on businesses. We've already seen unemployment go up by nearly 200,000 under this Labour government. Your piece just then was talking about the pressure that national insurance contribution increases is putting on businesses, big and small, up and down the country. So because Labour can't control spending, unfortunately, all of us, working people, businesses, all of us are going to suffer even more Labour tax rises.
We were talking as well with the Chancellor about the new youth guarantee scheme she's announcing today and in her speech. And I asked her, is there a need to look more broadly at welfare reform again? And she said there was. Is that something that the Conservatives would support if it comes back to Parliament?
Yeah, well, we said a few months ago that if the Labour Party, the Labour government, brought forward like a proper package of welfare reforms, we would absolutely support that because our country needs it. But they, so far, don't have a credible package of welfare reforms. Look, Rachel Reeves has a cheek talking about this guarantee for young people into work. Since Rachel Reeves became Chancellor a year and a quarter ago, 27,000 extra young people are now out of education, employment and training. 27,000 extra young people, thanks to Rachel Reeves' tax increases. If she's serious, if Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer and the Labour government are serious about getting people back into work, they would bear down on welfare spending, introduce more conditions, so you have to actually have a proper face-to-face medical examination before getting signed off sick. It's ridiculous that is not happening. And and as a consequence, get taxes down. And if we can reduce taxes, then obviously businesses would be incentivised to invest more. At the moment, some of the most successful people in the country are actually leaving the country, going to places like Dubai because taxes have got so high, and businesses are pulling investment out of the UK and putting it somewhere else, like all of those pharmaceutical companies.
Of course, those remote interviews to be signed off sick began during your government.
During COVID.
Sure,
yeah.
but they weren't addressed during your government, and clearly didn't vote for their welfare reforms last time around. Let's talk about immigration. You also got a speech.
Well, hang on, their welfare reforms never got put to a vote because they capitulated before it even came to a vote.
Yeah, but and
in fact, hang on, and what they eventually tabled.
You made clear in the days leading up that you weren't going to support their plans?
No, that's not true. We made clear we would support welfare reform plans
if they drastically changed them.
If they made them meaningful, which they didn't do. The measure the Labour government ended up tabling back, I think it was in June, is actually going to increase welfare expenditure. It is absolutely crazy because Keir Starmer can't even control his own backbenchers.
You didn't have the same level of rhetoric and support that you've claimed and Kemi Badenoch claims to have this time if they bring it forward in the lead-up. So I don't think you would have voted for the original plan, let alone the one that came forward, which I acknowledge have been changed a lot. Let's just talk about immigration as well. Your brief, Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary, also due to speak today. If she takes meaningful steps to clamp down on small boat crossings, again, would you support those?
Well, we would support measures which are actually going to get control of our borders. So, for example, we have tabled in Parliament in the last few months, we're the only party to have tabled detailed and credible proposals to get the immigration crisis sorted out. For example, getting rid of the Human Rights Act when it comes to immigration matters. So every single illegal immigrant who arrives, not just a handful, but every single illegal immigrant who crosses the channel by small boat would get immediately removed. Now, that would then deter anyone from crossing, because if you knew you were definitely going to get removed, you wouldn't bother crossing in the first place. Labour so far have removed 7 people back to France when thousands have arrived, so that's not going to deter anyone. What I'm talking about is different, removing every single illegal immigrant the minute they cross. And we've seen that working in Australia about 12 or 13 years ago. We've actually seen it work this year, 2025, in the USA, where they had, under the Biden administration, hundreds of thousands, millions even, crossing the Mexican-American border. And since the new American administration started basically removing all of those people straight away, the numbers illegally crossing the Mexican-American border have gone down, I think it's 80 or 90% within a few months. So there is a plan. We've tabled it in Parliament, but Labour voted against it.
There's a new Home Secretary in town, though. I guess my point on this is the extent to which you wish her success in her endeavours, both if you agree with actions that would help the national interest, but also thinking selfishly politically, because I think it's fair to say this is an issue that you've lost a lot of support to reform on, and if it's an issue that is solved or put to bed before the next election, will that actually help your party?
Well, this issue needs to be fixed, not for any party political reason, as you were just sort of suggesting. It needs to be fixed in our national interest. We cannot have tens of thousands of people illegally crossing the Channel each year. I went over to Calais, to Dunkirk, in August, and I saw these camps and I saw the people there. Somebody pulled out a machete while I was there. I got pelted with bottles and stones. As we speak, the people that did that, the guy that pulled out the machete, the people that pelted us with bottles and stones, could well be staying in a hotel near any of your viewers, funded by the taxpayer. That just can't be allowed to happen. So this is a matter of overwhelming national interest. And if the Labour Party, or indeed anyone, table measures that will fix this, yeah, of course we'll support it. But so far, when we've tabled tough measures like getting rid of the Human Rights Act for immigration matters, Labour have voted against it because they're not serious. And even yesterday, Keir Starmer was smearing people as racist who wanted to get control of our borders. That tells you a lot about the way Keir Starmer's mind works.
Well, let's talk about that comment yesterday. Obviously, it wasn't related to the small boats issue, which is what we've discussed for the last few minutes. It was relating to reforms proposals to get rid of indefinite leave to remain, a term that applies to people who are working here legitimately. Is that racist?
No, it's not racist. It's not racist to want to control our borders. It's not racist to want to make sure only people who are making a contribution can stay here. And it's completely wrong of Keir Starmer to use that smear. In the past, Keir Starmer wrote, I think it was a book or an article when he was a human rights lawyer, when he said that all immigration law had racist overtones or undertones. So again, that tells you the way Keir Starmer's mind works. Look, on this question about so-called indefinite leave to remain, that means someone that's come into the country initially temporarily, being given the permanent right to stay. We Conservatives tabled, again, legislation in Parliament a few months ago saying that nobody should get that until they've made a contribution, paid taxes, not claimed any benefits. And we said it should take 10 years before people become eligible for that. And what did Labour do? They voted against it. But that actually itself doesn't go far enough. We should have a binding annual cap.
Their policy is to extend it from 5 years to 10 years.
So since they voted against it a few months ago, they've now copied bits of our policy, which is fine. Glad they've done that. But it doesn't go. But they voted against it just a few months ago. Now Shabana Mahmood standing up and announcing it like it's a new idea. Hang on, let me finish. It doesn't go far enough, because we also need a binding annual cap on inward migration at a very low level. We need higher salary thresholds for people to, for example, bring over family members. And we need to get rid of the Human Rights Act for immigration matters. And Labour is not prepared to do any of those things. Now, we've worked up those plans in detail. Reform haven't. They've got good slogans, but they haven't done the detailed work, which we have. The difference between us, the Conservatives, and Reform is that we've done the detailed work, the credible thinking required. Reform haven't bothered doing that. Labour don't really have the will to do what is needed.
Well, we'll get Reform's response to that claim in a few minutes' time with the use of Chris Philp. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're out of time. Good to see you.